Thanks, Jim. Alright, quiet. Now, before we begin with celebrating, I want to take a sober second and say a few words. Now, it was almost 2 years ago that we were gathered here happily on this day to celebrate the marriage of Carlos and Casey. However, it brings me even greater happiness to be gathered here with you today to be celebrating their separation. 2 years ago on that happy day, I remember the priest saying something about until death do us part. I felt bad because I was making remarks saying more like divorce do us part. Now, I felt remorseful, but in light of recent circumstances, who isn't a fan of foreshadowing? For over 10 years, Carlos has been my business partner and one of my closest friends, and seeing him happy and make money has always been a hobby of mine. However, 5 years ago, when Carlos announced his plans to marry Casey, I knew I'd have to put my hobby on hold. They say that there are 3 rings in marriage: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and suffering. Well, through this marriage, Carlos has definitely paid for all 3 of them. Ever since they became Facebook official, I have watched Carlos and Casey's relationship grow, and the fun and laughter in Carlos' eyes fade. Initially, Carlos traded the fun adventures with the boys in exchange for fun-filled Friday nights of Francie and Friends reruns with Casey. And although it was a huge hit to us, we were okay with it because Carlos was happy. But after years of marriage, I thought that Carlos would never come back and never be the same. But, as luck would have it, I was wrong. It's no secret that the IRS and I don't see eye to eye, but at least we can agree on one thing: always check the company's books. For not for our accountant, we would never have found out all the hotel rooms that Casey was checking out for herself and the gardener Enrique. Carlos, nothing against Enrique, but I always told you, that's a guy that knows his way around a hoe. Now, whenever the topic of divorce comes up, a cloud of disappointment and failure loom over it, because in our society, marriage is viewed as an attempt of happiness, and divorce is admitting failure to that happiness. Now, I don't look at it like that. I kind of look at it as marriage is like a merger of 2 companies that try to become better and unite as one. But, as we've seen throughout history, that doesn't always work. And sometimes a divorce is necessary because you gotta remember, sometimes you just have to cut your losses. So, don't disappear into that bottle. Think of it as a blessing. Think of this as a new start. Think of this as chapter 13. Because, well, you're eventually going to have to pay a shit ton of money to her. But